Hi, and welcome to today's podcast. Today I have Linzi with me, Linzi Clarke-Boyle. Linzi has been in the industry for a while, I'm going to say. I'm not going to put a number on it unless she wants me to. Linzi, I know Linzi through working for a former company where Linzi was a couple of areas that she supported with. She supported with the delivering of our level 2 and level 3 qualifications in the capacity of a tutor, and then when we went into lockdown 1, as it's now known, Linzi delivered some virtual classes for us from the comfort of her own living room. Look, I think I thought actually that what might be useful today, if Linzi talks you through, what the journey might be like if anybody is considering becoming a tutor, maybe adding another string to their bow, maybe getting to understand how what it looks like to become an assessor. Is that something you think is worthwhile adding to your personal training bow potentially? So I think there's loads to talk about. So let's see how we get on. So firstly, how are you doing, Linzi?
I'm good, thank you. I'm in the comfort of my own home. I'm in my little home studio, my living room.
Lovely. So look, let's get straight down to it then. So let's just talk to me about you all the way back from when you first started in the fitness industry. Talk to me about why you decided to join this industry in the first place, if you don't mind.
Goodness, I think we've all got our own personal stories, and I had an amazing story, and I wanted to be able to offer some support, some advice to people that basically weren't feeling comfortable in their own skin. So I've been in the industry 22 years. I can't believe it's that long. I was just trying to figure it out before we actually came on to do the podcast. So I started off as a group exercise trainer, one of those that would jump around a studio doing grapevines, doing aerobics, step classes, circuit classes, all those types of things. So that's kind of my forte. That's where I feel comfortable. I then transitioned into going onto the gym floor and then doing my PT qualification and then heading up a PT department when it became a thing, because it just used to be fitness instructors. And then it was all of a sudden, oh, let's make some more money. We're going to have PTs into our establishments. So I did that for a while, and just by chance I was talking to somebody in the gym, as it was, and he mentioned that he was working for a training provider, and I was like, oh, what is that? What do you do? And he basically said, instead of going to college, I bring the college to the student. So they did their NVQ qualifications. They supported the learners from day one right through to maybe 12 months, 6 months, if they were lucky to do it as quick. And I was like, God, that sounds really interesting. So then I approached a training provider and said, look, I'm amazing at what I do. I love people. I love training people. I love educating people. How can I be an assessor? So they just basically put me on my assessor's qualification. It was called A1s back in the day. It's probably something different now. And I basically travelled the whole of West Yorkshire delivering NVQ qualifications and helping and supporting individuals through their learner portfolios. And then that led me to working with a local college and doing their mature learners qualifications on an evening. So yeah, so basically I would say it is worthwhile doing. It does take some time to do. I mean, I was lucky because I was already involved with a training provider at the time, so they put me through my qualifications, and I had support from our internal verifier who assisted me through that. So the process, I would say, is fairly straightforward. You have to do a few case studies. You have to be able to assess. And whatever you're qualified in, that is basically what you can then assess. So I've done exercise to music, I've done step, I've done circuits, kettlebells, spin, gym, personal training. So I can obviously deliver and assess all of those qualifications. So it's brilliant. It is worthwhile, especially when you start. If you think, I've had 22 years in this industry. So I started off in my 20s. I've got through to my 30s. I'm way surpassing my 40s, and I'm slowly climbing near the 50 mark. So you have to consider, when you are starting out as an 18-year-old, what does it look like in 20 years' time? What's your career span going to look like? Where do you want to go? So I would say definitely having more strings to your bow is very, very useful. So you can dip in and out of, and that's what I've done over my career span. You know, you can go back on the gym floors, you can set up your own businesses. That's what I also did. So yeah, so it's you can be versatile in this industry, and that's what brought me to the industry, just to basically educate, support, empower people, and that's what I enjoy doing.
Cool. Believe it or not, that was one question. So look, for those of you, for those that don't really maybe understand the difference between an assessor and a tutor, what's the difference?
So assessing basically means that you can assess the qualifications that you are competent in. So a training provider may deliver the course, and a tutor may deliver a course, and then they may ask assessors to then come in and assess on their courses. So they may need two people, or if you're just a tutor, you can do both in terms, because obviously you'll be qualified to both standards, hopefully. So you can be assessor, you don't necessarily have to be a tutor. So to go down the tutor route, you would need to, so for myself, I was delivering to mature students, so I needed to do adult education, which was the form of kettles back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So, or you can go as far as a cert ed. But yeah, it's once you start to do a bit of research, you know, the avenues do open. So you can just be an assessor, which just requires an A1, which maybe called something different. So you can just turn up and assess a course of, say, step or exercise to music or gym instructors, or you can be the tutor and work towards your adult education certificate and actually deliver the whole course from start to finish. So the anatomy, the physiology, the practical stuff as well. So that is the main difference.
So would you advise people to start out with the assessor's qualification to almost get a feel of,
yes,
is it an easier route in?
I think that's the building block is the assessor route. So it doesn't take very long. And then once you've built up a bit of a network and you've approached different training providers, and obviously now, back in the day for me, we didn't have the internet as such. We didn't have social media. So it was literally door knocking. And, you know, that's how people got to know who you were. But now, when you are in the industry, people do know of you, because you'll come full circle. You'll do a course, and then maybe 5 years later you'll do another course, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that tutor. I so and so. I remember that. Yeah, you know. So that's how you tend to know about these things.
Okay. What does it pay? I'm sure we all want to know if it's going to be a string to our bow. Is it a worthwhile string to our bow? Does it pay well?
Different areas will pay different things, different rates. Different training providers will also pay different rates. But in terms of assessing, so you're turning up to do, say, a level 2 qualification gym assessment, or you're turning up to do a level 3 personal training assessment. The day rate can be anything from 150 all the way up to 250. Okay. So it just depends who the training provider is and the area where you're working from.
And just from your personal experience of this, that over the last few years there's been a real shift from and not just because of what's happened over the last 13 months, but there's been a real shift towards e-learning, and consequently potentially, and you tell me if this is the case, but are there fewer day sessions now, because rather than have a group that you're going to assess together, you may be assessing an individual here, an individual there, so you get an hourly rate rather than a day rate? Does that make sense?
Yes. So obviously with your day rate and your hourly rate, it is going to be slightly different. If you're just going to turn up for an hour, then you are obviously then within your rights to ask for a slightly higher rate of pay, because it's just 1 hour's assessment. But you'll be doing it online more or less now, so sometimes it's a little bit easier that way. So yeah, so anything from, I would say, minimum of £25 all the way up plus some. So it's probably a similar rate to what a group exercise instructor is being paid on an hourly rate, between 20, 25, 30, £35 an hour. Some more.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, it sounds useful. And in terms of getting qualified to be an assessor, is it a day course? Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it 6 weeks? How long should you expect it to take to go through the process from start to finish?
So back in the day when I did mine was I had to build up a portfolio. So it was a case study. You worked on two types of learners, so you needed 2 different examples of work. So that, I think, to be fair, that actually took probably anything up to 3 to 6 months to do that. I'm not sure now in terms of how the certificate is delivered, but it's definitely worth exploring and just seeing what is available. I am talking, a good 15, 20 years ago since I did mine. Things have changed. We've got the internet.
Well, maybe it's just worth doing some additional research. I'm sure there are a different
I think you can obviously maybe approach your local college, see what they've got going on. There's always people offering upskills. I've seen some local providers who are offering to train assessors as well. So there is a particular market for it. And I would advise potentially keeping it on your radar for when you do want additional or a different revenue, stream that will complement what you're already doing. So obviously the face-to-face PT, that's evolved, hasn't it, over the years? It's more group, it's more online. So the world is your oyster once you've got these qualifications underneath your belt.
You're right. I mean, I've had multiple conversations over the last probably 6 months with various different training providers who want more assessors, and it suits their needs now to be able to sell an online course across the country and have assessors all over that they can sort of rely on to support their learners through the
because back in the day that we just had the main training providers, the main known names, whereas now there's so many individualized training providers who are being competitive to the main ones, so it opened up more opportunities for the likes of us assessors and tutors. So we didn't just have to rely on the colleges, we didn't have to rely on the big names. We could then obviously approach the smaller independent operators as well. So there is a market there for it. There's groups now online. You don't have to apply for anything now. You can spot a post on a Facebook page and then go, I'll DM you, and if you need my services, I'm available, and if you want to speak to me, this is my availability. There's so much option, isn't there? So much choice for an assessor, for a PT, for a training provider, and for a training coach. There's lots of options.
100%. So what do you think are things that, from your experience, what would you say that differs across the board with training providers? Because from my understanding, and I won't be far wrong with this, that I think there's about just short of 500 training providers across the UK right now. So it probably makes it quite a difficult choice for any want to be trainer who hasn't yet got a qualification to make a decision. So what would you say the things that that they should really be looking for?
Oh, good question. So price is always a driving force, isn't it? But don't always be fooled by the price. So if something as cheap as chips, what are you getting for your cheap as chips pennies? If something's a little bit more expensive, again, what are you getting for your money if it's a little bit more expensive? You want to know about the statistics in terms of how successful, you know, the participants have been, the support that you get whilst you're on the course. And obviously there's different levels of support, from going face-to-face to a course where you see your tutor every weekend for 6 weekends, or if you sign up to do an online course, which you are then allocated a time to complete that, and you may not have as much support along the way. So you have to be very, you know, very diligent of, can you complete your sessions? Can you motivate yourself, compared to having someone who's there to motivate you and encourage you on a week-to-week basis? So yeah, it's difficult for an individual who is probably first setting out. And I think the first thing most people do is they pop a post on Facebook. Who's your training provider? Who did you use? And loads of people will have lots of reasons and experiences. Don't touch them with a barge pole. Oh, I recommend these. And I think it's down to what you want, what you can afford, and what you want to achieve on the outcome. I would say personally, from anybody who's starting out, they need to know that they're not just going to be left once they've got the qualification. There needs to be some form of mentorship or a place to go where you can have progression to and support, even by a coach that can direct you for business advice, or just general advice of, gosh, I've got a question, I've got this idea, I need to sound it off to somebody who's already in the industry. Who do I go to? And it's having that you know, support around you. And obviously you'd have your tutor who could do that. You'd have the people who are on the course to do that. You've got the internet that can basically answer that question for you. You know, Google can answer that question for you. But there are obviously other providers out there and other businesses that can obviously help fill that need, because you do need someone to hold your hand for a short while until you're ready to really fly, because you don't know. It's like when you pass your driving test, you get your certificate, you know, you've passed your driving test, and it's not until you've been on the road a good 6 months, a year, that you're really experienced. And it's the same with a PT or a fitness qualification. You've got that certificate, you need a good 6 months, 12 months at least to figure out who you are as a trainer. Who is your niche market? Who do you want to inspire? Who do you want to work with? Rather than just grabbing anything that comes towards you. You know, you can be picky, you can be choosy. You need to have a business plan, an idea. Where do you want to go from year 1 to year 2 to year 3? So yeah, support, definitely.
Well, good point. What because obviously you know the course inside and out. What should call them a prospect at this stage? You've not signed up for anything. You want to be a personal trainer, but you've not done a qualification yet. What should you expect to be delivered to you within your level 2 and level 3, and what skills would you expect to come out with once you've qualified? Because I wonder, potentially, is there an assumption that there'll be other additional skills that are maybe expected but just aren't there?
I think because we've got 2 avenues to go down. You've got your face-to-face avenue, where you are mixing with more of your, you know, your peers on the course. You've got more opportunities to ask your tutor, who can offer advice and support and direct you into, you know, into certain pathways. And they can basically help you shine a little bit more and offer you that skill set that's required. And you can see that, and you can nurture an individual who probably just needs a little bit more coaching, a little bit more confidence building. Whereas when you are online, you are you are very limited as to having that right level of support, unless you've got a tutor that accesses once a month just to keep you on tabs to say, hey, any questions, I'm here. Otherwise, you are left to your own devices, where you are working through modules of anatomy, physiology, and anybody can do that. You can read a book, you can watch a few YouTube clips or watch a few demonstrations, and you know what you've got to do. What you don't get with that is the formative assessment, the formative feedback, the ongoing feedback to say, this is where you're starting from day one. We're on the course now 6 weeks. Naturally, you should be progressing to this level. These are the areas you need to be working on. And unfortunately, when you are on the online world, you may not get that feedback. And I think that's really, really, really important, that you do get some form of feedback to upskill you. Because otherwise, all you've done is just read a few modules, and then you've turned up for your assessment and you've no idea what you're expecting on the day, unless you have been prepped and you've had that kind of support, which I know some online providers probably haven't, missing out on a few things. And I know from the industry as a whole, from the assessment process, looking at the verification process, you never know what standard of student you're going to have in front of you when you're assessing them, when they've come from the online world. You have a bit more confidence when they've come from a face-to-face world. The standard is slightly higher because they know what to model on, hopefully. But that's not saying there aren't amazing PTs that have come from the online world. There are amazing PTs that have come from the online world, but there's just not as many, unfortunately, in my experience.
It's learning styles, isn't it? You know, if you're the type of person which you know, I certainly am. I learn better when I'm in a face-to-face environment, when I've got, you know, people around me that I can ask questions along the way. I'm not so great at sitting down reading a book and taking it all in. Video helps me. Given the option, I'd rather, you know, if there was the book or the movie, I'm watching the movie all day long. And maybe when you think about your course, and price is going to be a big thing, but maybe what you need to consider first is your learning style and how you prefer to get the best out of the course, and then look at price. Because of those 500 training providers, I'm sure there'll be a whole bunch of them that meet your needs, and then you can, you know, marry up their prices and make that work for you, as opposed to going for the cheapest course.
And I think as well, previously, we were very much limited. I know there's 500 training providers now, but back in the day when I was qualifying, there wasn't 500 training providers. So we had to travel a distance to become qualified. Whereas now, you know, the online world has opened up the accessibility and the freedom to learn at your own pace and at your own time and at your own convenience, definitely. But yeah, you do need to choose your type of learning styles, what you want from it, what you're going to get from it, and what is going to be the kind of the extra cuddle, the extra cushioning from when you finished your qualification. Because you don't know once you've gone into the big wide world. Because if you aren't already, back in the day, we were working for operators. We upskilled from gym instructors to PTs. We some training providers had their own training academies. So it was all done in-house. Whereas now, if you are choosing an academy, you're choosing it from an online perspective, or maybe going out and actually knocking on a door. You don't know because you haven't had that influence. So yeah, I think that's something to also, you know, think about.
Yeah, agreed. I think end game is something that we probably don't think about at the beginning of our careers. Now, I'm not saying end game as in, you know, retirement, but it's definitely worth thinking about what you want to do with your qualification, where you want to take it. Are you looking for an employed position where you effectively want a job, and those roles are few and far between in this industry, certainly as an employed trainer. Around about 80% are self-employed roles. So if that's your thing, it would make sense as well to think about you know, what that looks like for you, and what steps do you need to take to be, you know, successful, as opposed to where a lot of us fail is that, you know, maybe we're not aware of how the industry works before we get qualified, and then we find out along the way, and along the way is probably too late, because you've only got you know, a certain amount of time that you can afford to have a go at something without, you know, making any money.
I think the stepping stone for the majority, it was, which obviously it's now changed, is you would be employed as a PT in, you know, a big operator's facility. And then once you've built up a client base, then at that point you'd be like, right, I'm ready to go on my own. You know, or there's probably some really good PTs who've done the flip side of that. They've gone straight into a self-employed role and built up their own community, and it's finding that fine line, isn't it? It is a tricky one. I think when you are first starting out as an 18-year, and I'm saying 18-year-olds because, you know, that's usually the age range of students coming through, and obviously the later age ranges when more mature students are wanting a different career change. And I think the cushioning is find an operator that can help you and guide you and support you through your PT career. And then once you feel like you've got the confidence, and if you do want to then explore and go and be self-employed and build your own brand, then you can do that.
Yeah.
The world is your oyster.
Yeah, well, look, so what about let's say, for example, then you're in your first year of qualification, so you qualified with a particular training provider. What additional courses would you recommend that are worthwhile adding to your bow, so to speak, within that first year, or is it up to the individual?
I think it's up to the individual. It depends on what takes their interest. Again, back in the day, it was the bodybuilding. People wanted to just bodybuild and grow muscles, and, you know, a lot of people missed out the opportunities to work with the health-related individuals. So if you are going to work with specifics, then you need to obviously be qualified in those specifics. So don't just stick with one mindset. You do need to explore the weight loss industry. So you might need an additional nutritional qualification on there. You may then decide that you're going to explore specific special populations. So then you would need a specific special populations qualifications, for example, a pre and postnatal qualification like I did. And then I set up my own pre and postnatal business, Fit Mamas, walking around the parks with our push chairs and things like that. That was my niche. I specialised with females only. And, you know, you may want to work with the older populations, because now I'm verging into the older category. You know, we need to support individuals who are living much longer lives. So yeah, we just don't want to, you know, stop at 20-year-olds. We've got 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and then we've got specific populations who require specific needs. So the communities that are potentially housebound, or they've got illnesses, or, you know, medical conditions. So you would need a specific qualification to work with those individuals. So there's so many avenues and so many doors to open. And I think it's just, when you're first qualified, it's weight loss, toning, maybe a little bit sport specific. It's very rare, but then you would choose your niche. And I think the majority of your bread and butter is your weight loss. And then you can decide where you want to explore. But yeah, that's what I would suggest. Even group exercise, because my background was always group exercise. It was looking then to do different programs. So things like, obviously everybody knows Zumba, you've got your boot camps, you've got your Piloxing, you've got your Pyo, you've got your Les Mills program. So it's just having being multi-skilled just means that you've got variety in your day. You're not just servicing the same clients. You know, you need variety to keep the spice of life going, and accessibility to open up to a bigger audience as well.
Well, that perfectly brings me on to the next question. So what's kept you in this industry so long?
not the money. I wish I'd have been rich many moons ago. I remember distinctly having a wonderful conversation with my partner saying, when are you going to get a proper job? And I think I once mentioned that to you once, Carl, many years ago. It's been my hobby, it's been my passion, and I just love this industry because you evolve as a person. When you're first starting out, you don't know who you are. And it's same in any kind of career, isn't it? You know, you're starting out, you gain experience, your job opportunity offers you different avenues and pathways. And for me, the fitness industry just ticked so many boxes, helping, empowering, and just sprinkling that bit of magic. You can tell I've still got passion in my voice as I speak about this. There are bumps along the way, and you do have, that's life, isn't it? And you've got to pick yourself up. I mean, look at the last 13 months.
Yeah.
How on earth have we got through the last 13 months? But yeah, it's like anything. If you enjoy it, you'll do it, and you'll turn up in sun, rain, snow, all elements, all climates. It's just what we do. It's if you're passionate and you want to help people, then you'll find a way to continuing to help people.
Great advice. What about the last couple of questions I've got for you? And look, thank you so far. If you had, what's the? I know this is, it's not maybe my favourite question, but what's the worst thing about this industry?
Oh, well, like any industry where you're servicing the general public, the worst thing is sometimes the hours. Isn't it? You know, if you are a PT that's first starting out, you will be working every hour on the hour to build up your business. And that's in any industry. And then once you've got a certain level of success that you deem to be success, you may not work as many hours. And I've done the same over the years. You know, in my 20s, I didn't have any responsibilities. You know, I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have those types of things. So I could work when I wanted and do what I wanted. Whereas when family got involved and you've got more responsibilities, then you tend to pick and choose your hours. And I've been very lucky. And I think that's, again, one of the reasons why I did the tutoring role, because I could either work on a weekend or I could work the odd evenings. So it suited my circumstances. So I think probably the worst thing is sometimes the hours and sometimes just the cancellations.
Oh, now I've got you on a roll. Okay, what else?
Sometimes the cancellations and the lack of commitment from individuals. When you're committed to your participants and your clients and they're not committed to you, that can sometimes be a bit of a bane, isn't it? Anyway, we'll move on. We'll find a positive.
No, that's not what this is about. I'm interested now. Not that I wasn't interested before, but I'm very interested when more interested in understanding how do you deal with that? Because I don't mean emotionally and mentally, but I mean, what steps do you take to try and increase the amount of people that show up to your sessions? Because it's something that we all face, 100%, that people aren't committed to their exercise plans as much as we want them to be, and as passionate as we are about what we do, not everybody's the same. So
I think
what do
gone
you
are
do?
the days offering one-to-one sessions at every now and again. You have to basically be working smartly. So I don't work with a client now unless they're signing up to a minimum of 6 weeks or 12 weeks even. They know the terms and conditions. It's outlined at the start. You know, everyone has good intentions, and then sometimes life gets in the way. Working with small groups is amazing because you're utilising your time and you're earning more for your hour.
Yeah.
Offering some online sessions as well, you can target a bigger audience as well. So there's if you are just working hourly, you are always going to be trying to find when the next client is going to be coming in. And if people cancel on you for injury, illness, you know, whatever reasons, they just don't need you anymore, then you've got to fill that gap, haven't you? You've got to fill it with something. And when are our most busiest times? We're either busy first thing in the morning, or we're busy on an evening, and you want to be with your families then, and you want to have a life, don't you? So I think being multi-skilled, being driven, having some focus, having a goal, having an idea, and finding your tribe who want to share that with you, your clients, network with like-minded PTs, individuals, because you might have a niche that you could recommend to somebody else, and they'll have a niche that they could recommend you. You know, there's enough for everybody to go around if we just work smartly, and we're just a bit more kind and considerate to our neighbour who's setting up a boot camp down the road from you.
Yeah, I get that. So final question then, what's the best thing about the industry?
Oh gosh, the best thing is inspiring and seeing the change in your clients from when they've first approached you, whether it is a PT one-to-one session, you know, you've worked with them 6 weeks, 12 weeks. You know, I go back to now, I've worked with individuals, it's been nearly my 10th year, and just to see their confidence grow, to help with their mobility, to help with their confidence, to help with their everyday lives. You know, it's not always about a six-pack. It's not always about having a good chest muscle. You know, it's about health and mental well-being, isn't it? The focus is mental well-being. If you can improve, if people move, then they'll improve the mental well-being, and that is just amazing to see when you've been part of that, a part of someone's journey. That's just amazing. That's the best bit for me.
Cool. No, I like that. I lied. One final question, and then I'll let you go. What would be the best bit of advice that you'd offer a new personal trainer getting into the industry right now? Yeah, that's the question.
Best bit of advice is take the highs with the lows. There's going to be lots of lows. Hopefully there'll be lots of highs, but you are embarking on a new career, a new journey, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time to find your tribe. Don't worry about what somebody's doing on Instagram. Don't worry about the PT that's just set up down the road doing their boot camp. You continue to do what you are doing. Figure out your vision, figure out your goal, where you want to go, who you want to inspire, who you want to help, and it will all come to you when it's supposed to come to you. So I'm 22 years down the line, and opportunities are still coming to me. I'm still growing as an individual, as a trainer, and I'm still continuing to find the passion and still inspire people. So don't give up. Just keep going. When it feels like you're slugging through the army trenches, there's light at the other side. Hence what's going through at the moment with the COVID. You know, 13 months down the line, we're coming out the other side. So just keep going.
Cool. Linzi, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.